Fury versus Usyk. Usyk versus Fury, scheduled for February or March of 2023 in Saudi Arabia. But who best to talk to us about Alexander Usyk than our Eastern European correspondent, the one and only Eugene Live. Stay with us here on BWTM Sports. We're back in a moment. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BWTM Sports Gaming. Eugene, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so fed up of that intro. Do you know how long that intro's been around?
I would guess about 2 years by now.
Yes, that is lockdown. That intro. If you look at my hair in that and how I look and everything in that, that's all due to lockdown. So within the next week, we'll have a new intro. Thank goodness, post lockdown. So what's been going on with you?
I've been doing all right. The season is pretty much over, so I'm back into browsing the internet more, picking up on obscure information, and just getting back to my normal self, I guess.
Tyson Fury, he's flip-flopped again. Are you aware he was calling him Alexander Usyk a middleweight?
Yes, that was the
Right.
the call for him for a while. I don't know, for a few months for sure. That was
so
now
the call is that he's the same size as George Foreman in height and weight, exact height and weight of George Foreman. So now he's calling him a bona fide heavyweight. Now, I don't know if Tyson Fury kind of realized that when they were standing next to one another, but you tell me.
Well, first of all, he's actually calling him a sausage now. So let's get our facts straight.
Okay, sausage. Okay.
But to anyone who with a brain, to take a look at Alexander Usyk, see his height and his weight, and you'll understand that it's a 6'3" heavyweight that weighs 220 pounds, which is pretty much what most of the heavyweights of the golden era were walking around. Actually, a lot of them were shorter than that, and quite a few of them were lighter. It wasn't uncommon for people around his size to be about 215 and being 6'1", that would be a typical size for a heavyweight. And this era of gargantuan heavyweights, well, it kind of sort of started and kind of went along with more or less with Klitschko's, right? Because Klitschko's were 6'6". Then after that, we got Joshua, who was 6'6", and Wilder, who was 6'7". Sorry, still is. I'm just recounting. Sorry.
Yeah.
And Fury, who is claimed to be 6'9". But I feel there is a aspect of WWE in it, when they when they overstate it a bit, just to make it more exciting.
So you don't think he's actually 6'9" then?
Maybe he's close. It's just if he's actually 6'8", it doesn't really get him that far off, right? So let's just let's add a little more. Who's gonna really measure, right? Maybe he's 6'7.5", and Wilder is not exactly 6'7". It's hard to tell, I'm not really into measuring every inch of a fighter's height, but it seems like a marketing thing for me.
Absolutely. So Tell us what the talk has been around Usyk's team, and there's been some people said there's been misinterpretation to what he said. What is Usyk's thoughts on how Fury approached him and the aftermath of that?
Well, Usyk is again, the thing about Usyk is that he's not gonna put a show like he cannot really match Fury in trash talking or make a scene on the spot, right?
Mhm.
So he came in to show his face and get him a stare down and basically keep poker face on, or more or less. I mean, not that Usyk is completely emotionless, but he's more or less unfazed by most of the stuff that's happening around him.
Mhm.
And I think what his issue was with the whole situation is that all of a sudden um, Joe Joyce was thrown into the mix. That was bizarre. It's just all of a sudden it became a three-way encounter,
Battle, yes.
which is strange and also really stinks of a backup. You know, that's the first
Yeah, I
thing
get that.
I thought about because okay, well, we really want Usyk, but you know, if we cannot get him, it's gonna be Joyce, and it's like, okay, why are you talking about Joyce all of a sudden? Usyk's right to the head of you, like right in front of you.
Hmm. Why
It's
would you mention Joe Joyce?
it's
It's not good. It's not a good look, is it?
not a good look, but also it kind of gives you an idea. Maybe it's one of the tactics, be like, well, we don't know if the fight with Usyk should happen first, or Joyce. Yeah, definitely we want Usyk, but here's Joyce, and it's easier to make a fight or whatever, right? And that way, create kind of a pressure on Usyk because it benefits Usyk to have the fight sooner than later because he is already 36,
Hmm.
and by the time they're gonna fight, oh no, he's 35. Pardon me, but he's turning 36 this January. So by the time goes on, it favors more Fury because he's 2 years younger.
Right.
All right. Even though Usyk is a heavyweight and heavyweights age a bit differently than lighter weights, you got to remember that Usyk is a smaller heavyweight that relies on his speed and
Speeds.
his athleticism. His
Yes.
stamina, his speed, his reaction. Um, those things, they start chipping away as the years go by. So immediately when I saw that, that they're keeping Joe Joyce on kind of a retainer over there, I
Hmm.
was thinking about having some kind of game, maybe uh, make it easier to negotiate, or we'll go with Joyce kind of message.
Well, I don't think that. To me, I think he should take the Usyk fight. I don't think he. I actually don't think Fury beats Joe Joyce. I don't think he does.
See, but that's a bit irrelevant when you're talking about negotiation aspect of it, because he doesn't have to take Joe Joyce,
No,
right?
he doesn't. That's true.
He can only just say that that's his alternative, and Usyk
Hmm.
would rather get it done sooner than later, because there's definitely going to be a rematch clause in there, so it's not a one fight endeavor, right?
Well, it might be a one fight endeavor if Usyk says, you know what, I'm undisputed now. No need for me to do anything more. I'm retiring. If he takes that approach,
I don't see that happening.
you don't.
No, absolutely not.
So you think he would take the fight? If he were to beat Fury, he'd fight him again.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Um, the whole thing with Usyk is that, well, first of all, he's not. adverse to taking that step. But then once he succeeds, well, he sees it as a second cash out. And why say no to that? That's a mountain you already climbed, you know?
Mhm.
So I think he would take it. He wasn't against a third fight with Joshua, and by God, does anybody need that?
No, nobody wants to see that.
No,
Absolutely, nobody wants to
absolutely
see
not.
that. Nobody wants to
Nobody
see that.
wanted to see a third fight with Chisora, but it happened, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's true.
in the
What
world of
was it?
boxing, you know, if the purse is large enough, it will happen.
Yep. Uh, this is what Bob Zahn says. Usyk is a proven winner if the cheating and dirty tactics from Fury, i.e., their head locking, head butting, leaning on him, behind the head punches, punch on the break doesn't work. Fury's out of luck. What are your thoughts on that?
Those tricks are not so much a winner as their attempts by Fury, as I see them, to
Mm-hmm.
make the other fighter rattled. You know,
Mm-hmm.
get him emotional, get him to commit to something a bit too much, to to stop playing the game too,
Mm-hmm.
you know, too precisely. I don't think the tricks themselves will win him the fight, but it's his attempt to phase a fighter, and I don't really think they would do too much for Usyk. He seems to be a rather composed person, a lot less prone to outbursts of emotion or irrational actions.
Okay. Okay. How do you think Usyk's team will deal with the constant holding? Because if you listen to Don Charles, Chisora's trainer, he kept saying to ref, he's holding, because they know Fury is going to do that. And I warned people in the pre-fight that Fury is going to do it. That's a big man's trick. Lean on you, maul you, sap the energy from your legs. And that's what he's got to do to Usyk. Stop the movement from Usyk, get on him, lean on him, and really put your weight on him to stop Usyk all that movement, slow him down so you can hit him.
He'll definitely try that. The thing that Usyk has to be doing is, of course, well, he's a better mover than Chisora,
Mm-hmm.
and also he's gonna try to get it off of himself by establishing good jab, you know, and good straight punch to keep the distance, because um, Fury prefers to be the one to be outside the range. Basically, he had, because of his natural attributes, he's always outside of the other boxer, right? And it doesn't take him too much effort to walk into the punching range without being in the range himself.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's coming in to hold Usyk, he's given away that leverage, you know, and becomes counterable, I would say. Uh,
Yes.
so it's one of those things where, you know, it's gonna be harder to catch Usyk because he's a mover, and when you commit to catching him in a clinch, he would become vulnerable. But that's only uh, speculation, I would say, because mm, Usyk has fought a boxer that is prone to do that kind of dirty, swampy type of fight, but it went nothing alike. And it was when he was fighting Breedis.
Mm-hmm.
Breedis is Breedis has been fighting with Klitschko's. Uh, I mean, in the
Sparring.
training camps,
Mm-hmm.
and he picked up a few tricks from him. And
Mm-hmm.
you've seen him use it against boxers in World Boxing Super Series.
Yes.
Oh, but he could not really execute it against Usyk, or would not even attempt it that much.
Okay.
So something tells me it's not as easy of a trick to execute as one would hope, because Chisora was perfectly happy to stay in place and let Fury close the gap, because well, he couldn't reach him from the outside much, so he can only work
Mm-hmm.
on the inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Fury comes to him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yes.
think Usyk would let that happen.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about Usyk's thoughts of Tyson Fury, how he sees him. He said the fight between Fury and Chisora was a sparring session. Is it that he's not giving much away, or he's just basically speaking his mind?
I think he is speaking his mind. The thing about Usyk is, well, we know certain facts about Chisora and Fury, and
Mm-hmm.
we know that they're buddies, right? They're in good relationship, to say the
Yes.
least. This whole fight more or less happens so Chisora gets paid and Fury doesn't have to sit on the bench for too long,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So you could say that in a few areas where Fury could have stepped it up
Mm-hmm.
and, really try to make something happen, he decided to not do it. One could say it's because, well, it's been a while and it's an intermediate fight. It doesn't have to be anything special, right? But then he did take Dillian White out quite happily, right?
Him and Dylan White don't have the same relationship, do they?
I'm not
They
sure.
don't have the same relationship. They don't have the
Mhm.
same relationship.
Yeah. Oh, and then again, Dillian White proved to be uppercut um, just
Vulnerable.
vulnerable. Yeah. Every time he got in trouble, it was an uppercut.
Mm-hmm.
Povetkin, AJ, Fury is just that guy doesn't see it coming.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
And Povetkin as well. Yeah. So okay, so they're talking about this fight happening in March or May. No, sorry, February or March of next year in Saudi Arabia. They said it's almost done. Your thoughts on that?
I'm I'd like to believe that, but I don't, and it's
Uh-huh.
because it's happening a little too smoothly. You know,
Okay.
uh, we'll see how the whole thing gets arranged. I don't imagine Fury would need too much of a rest after Chisora because I don't think this fight took a toll on him, right? Well, not anything extraordinary. Um, but the fight in March or February or March, February will be too soon. I don't see it happening. March, more like it, but
Mhm.
honestly, I would see it closer
So
to
summer fight.
mid summer, maybe even late summer.
Okay.
Something tells me that there will be issues. You know, it's very rare
Um,
that we get a fight of this magnitude that gets arranged and it gets it done. Now, we did hear rumors about the fight being almost done with AJ and Fury,
mhm.
and when you examine the facts, that could never be true
Could never
because
be true, but there were people on here that were telling us, "No, the fight's going to happen. Fight's going to happen." The fight will not happen, and a lot of people were on here telling us the fight would happen, and it didn't happen. So you know how it goes.
yeah,
But this fight, I believe, can happen. I believe it can happen. I believe they may well have been close to negotiating the fight, but I think Usyk generally wanted to get fixed up, and he didn't want to fight at the end of the year. I do believe that genuinely, and I believe that Fury actually wanted a run out against Chisora, a fight which he knew that didn't have much risk to it. And I also believe now that I think the fight can be made quite quickly, depending on two things. Fury and Usyk both want it, and the fight's in Saudi Arabia. So if the money's been put up and it's in Saudi Arabia, I mean, what? Both guys will be ready to go. Like Fury will be ready to go. He's saying he's got an injury that can you really take Fury seriously? You know, sometimes he said he brought the whole Joe Joyce thing in the having pulling Joe Joyce up to show, oh well, if you don't pull your socks up and negotiate enough, then we can always go with the Joe Joyce route. You know, keeping the option open. You can see that's what Fury's trying to do.
of
But
course.
remember, when you look at who's at the negotiating table, yes, Fury might be the WWE star and you may have more star pulling power in that sense. But the guy who's got the more belts is Alexander Usyk, former cruiserweight undisputed champion, now coming up to heavyweight to become a heavyweight. And he's a heavyweight champion of the world as well. Yes, Fury's beaten Klitschko, and yes, he's beaten Deontay Wilder. But, you know, I think for the first time since Klitschko, no, I think it's the first time ever that I think he's going to meet somebody who's mentally as tough or tougher than him and has a boxing IQ and boxing ability that could be as good or better than Fury. Because Fury uses height and reach, yes, but there are fights and he's naturally a bigger guy. Usyk has had to fight guys that are bigger and outweigh him and still beat them.
That's very true. Because to be honest, if Fury was the size of Usyk, he would not be a special boxer. You know, he plays to his strength well, but this is gonna be like he never encountered a guy who would make good adjustments against him, right? And overall, Fury just exudes nervousness. You know,
He always has been. He's always been that type of guy. But I think nervousness is where you get the best out of him. However, that being said, this is not somebody that Fury can talk rubbish to and he gets a reaction. Fury knows he's in for a real fight. That's why he's doing all these things to almost dismiss Alexander Usyk. Oh, he's a small heavyweight. Oh, he's a cruiserweight. Oh, he's a middleweight. But yet today he comes out and says that Usyk is the same size as Muhammad Ali, or he's bigger than Muhammad Ali, and he weighs as much as Mike Tyson. I mean, look at the guys he's comparing him to: George Foreman, Mike Tyson, and Muhammad Ali in terms of size and stature.
yeah, all the famous middleweights.
So when you hear that, he's not calling out guys like Michael Moorer. Michael Moorer was 6'1" and smaller than Usyk. Evander Holyfield was smaller than Usyk. Roy Jones was smaller than Usyk. James Toney was smaller than Usyk. I mean, where's this guy going with this? Where is he going with it?
Well,
Tyson was 5'11" and 15 stone, and he was a heavyweight champion of the world. And by the way, isn't his first name Tyson?
that's right.
Contradiction Fury, once again.
Well, here's the thing, though. He can run around diminishing, let's say, Usyk's achievements and Joshua's, well, blowing out of proportion Joshua's downfall by calling Usyk a middleweight. But when it's his zero on the line, losing to a middleweight is bad.
Very bad. A pumped up middleweight, remember?
That's right. So I think when he was, downsizing his rivals,
Yep.
it was all well and dandy. But now that he has to sell the fight, things have to be adjusted.
I do. Well, I can guarantee you that he will say, you got beat by Sean Porter. You got beat by Sean Porter, who's a welterweight. There's nobody who fights at welterweight who's going to beat the Gypsy King. Wait, it's coming. Wait for it. The line is so predictable. It's coming. It's coming.
I wish Usyk was any better at trash talk, because he can just easily come back and you got dropped by a cruiserweight.
Exactly. He got beat by, and he actually said that the cruiserweight he got dropped by was the hardest fight he's been in his career, apart from Deontay Wilder. So, and I think that Usyk's a better boxer than Steve Cunningham. To be honest, I don't think Steve Cunningham would have beaten Alexander Usyk as a cruiserweight.
I don't think so. There are very few people, I would imagine, that could do it. But yeah, Steve Cunningham was a good boxer, but he he's not the match for Usyk. And
Can I
you know,
can I throw this to you at the moment? I was asked a question the other day. I think it's the last show I did. Usyk versus David Haye, prime David Haye, the David Haye that fought M- Mormek, who wasn't prime, but anyway, that David Haye versus any version of Alexander Usyk at cruiserweight.
mm, David Hayes say gets a new one turned in. He gets himself a new hole torn. Uh,
Why?
Usyk is okay. David Haye is an explosive boxer,
Uh-huh.
but he it would be very difficult for him to work around Usyk's movement.
Yeah.
And in order to beat Usyk, it gotta be somebody who would a punch with him or b move with him, right? So one of the two departments that he has to be matched is either somebody's answering his punches as they're coming, or not giving him any space, because
Mhm,
usually Usyk controls the space in the ring, whether he's being the number one, the aggressor, or number two, the defender.
mhm.
Um, David Hay is no, I don't see David Hay winning that.
What about Evander Holyfield? I know he's had
Ah,
problems
that's a
against
better
Southpaw.
one.
He's had problems against Southpaws. He got outboxed quite easily by Chris Bird.
Hmm.
He's got a box for quite a few good. He doesn't seem to do well against movers, Evander Holyfield, and Usyk's walked the wrong stuff for him. I would say.
That could be the case. The only thing about Evander Holyfield and the whole breed of fighters back then was, well, let's be honest, there's some sketchy stuff happening with growth hormones and other stuff. So their performance is a bit questionable. Now,
Hmm.
which version of them are we talking about? Have we even seen the true one, or is that the true one? Well, I'm not too sure. But stylistically, sure. But then we have to also compare the athletic ability,
Hmm.
right? Because in the explosiveness and ruggedness department,
Hmm.
he would be a pretty tough call. You know,
Hmm.
It's an interesting one. I wouldn't like in case of Holyfield, I cannot write him off as easily as I would do with Hay.
What about Roy Jones Jr. moving up to moves? He's undisputed light heavyweight champion. Moves up to cruiserweight versus Alexander Usyk.
Hmm, I kind of doubt it. It's hard to say because most of his most success in his career was when he was in lighter weights, right? But he was
Super
also
weight.
younger.
Hmm.
He had crazy speed, but again, that was at lower weights, and a gap between a cruiserweight and light heavyweight is 25 pounds. That's a
Wow.
huge gap.
But then the gap between middleweight to heavyweight, he was light heavy and he went up to heavyweight to become heavyweight champion of the world. And he beat John Ruiz. I know Ruiz is like a walking punching bag, but this same John Ruiz did beat Evander Holyfield, an age one at that.
Well, it's again, it's a bit. We gotta we gotta see, who beat who at which point in their lives. Like Berbick uh, beat um, Muhammad Ali, right? But
Yeah,
which
he
one?
did.
And
Which
then
version? Yeah, that's true.
Tyson beat Berbick. Well, that doesn't compute. That one doesn't equal the other. Triangles are not a thing.
I get that. I get that. I get that. But you do still throw it up anyway.
Hey, that would be interesting. It would be a lot more interesting to see Usyk as he was in the lighter divisions when he was a teenager. To kind of match him against somebody like Roy. Like
Okay.
kind of amateur Usyk versus amateur Roy.
Okay. Oh wow. Wow.
You know,
I think that'd be a great. Could you imagine that? Roy versus Usyk amateurs. That is something there.
yeah.
Okay, we've got comments in the comment section. I don't want to ignore the people in the room.
All
So
right.
let's see. Says do you think if those tactics from Fury don't work, Fury might see reality and might do an Oliver McCall a beat physically? Well, what he did against Steve Cunningham, when it's not going Fury's way, he's been knocked down. His tendency is to put his gloves up, put his hands up, and walk you down and back you up. You saw what he did against Steve Cunningham. He got dropped by Cunningham. He got up. He put his guard up and just walked Cunningham back, and then uses a forearm to push Cunningham's head up to nail him with the right hand. So Fury will do what is necessary to win. That's what I think. Your thoughts, Eugene?
Absolutely, but you gotta remember that if he does that and starts just walking Usyk down, he's playing into his strength. Usyk loves being the guy who
He's being
uh,
hunted.
being hunted. The action is coming to him, and the opponent is opening up, right?
Yeah.
The biggest attribute for Fury is his reach, right? And that's something that needs to be overcome. But if he's constantly coming and opening up against Usyk, well, he's essentially giving him all the opportunities that he needs.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it would work the same way as it worked against Cunningham, because
Okay.
Usyk is very comfortable to fight back and up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big guy as well. Couldn't believe anything the Fury camp say.
Smart man.
Bob Arum high off his cake. Frank Warren straight out of hospital, and Fury the compulsive liar. Oh, God. Shout out to Ingram, the chat, and Eugene. God bless you all.
God bless you.
There goes lovely James. God bless you too. God bless you, James. Otto from the kebab shop says his feet are much slower than this. Isn't the Fury footwork we've seen in Germany against Klitschko? Yeah, that has been noted that Fury said he would never be that guy again that fought against Klitschko. He said he'd never be that guy. And I think after leaving Ben Davison, he went to Sugar Hill, and Sugar Hill just made him into a power puncher, made him, set his feet and let his shots go. So, yeah, I don't think that guy, and he's getting knockouts, so I don't think that guy of skirting around the ring with the hands down by the side, I'm not sure we're going to see that style much more. Good evening, Lev Gravenson. Usyk should come to a stare down in platform shoes and 70s clothes. I remember when Klitschko, they were talking about Klitschko and Fury, and I think Fury mentioned that how Klitschko had grey hair and talked about him wearing shoes to make him look taller. And that psychologically got into Klitschko's head. That stuff won't get into Usyk's head at all.
No.
iBoxing says, I think Fury knocks out Usyk in the championship rounds. Okay, that's a big call there. That's not I don't know. I don't know about that, but
it's hard
your
for
thoughts?
me to see, but
Me too.
Usyk fights better as the fight goes on,
Yeah,
and
I think so.
He usually has better gas tank than his opponent. So we'll see. I mean,
And we'll have to see how much Fury has to extend himself, because this guy's got better footwork than Fury. Probably the best footwork since Klitschko, and he won't be there to get hit. And I think him having to the mental exhaustion that Usyk has put on his opponents, Fury himself will have to deal with that as well. Yes, he's a big guy. And yes, he's flat-footed. He'll be more flat-footed and trying to power punch his way through Usyk. But once Usyk starts giving him lateral movement, that can be very frustrating when you're throwing punches and you're missing and getting countered.
yeah, and he was never the guy that was done to. He was only the guy doing it to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's hope the fight will happen and the fight will be fair and square, no questionable fight and decision. Yeah, we all want that, really, don't we? But if it's questionable, then we get the rematch. So I guess the fight fans want a clean fight. The promoters want a trilogy. So there you go. Your thoughts?
Oh, most definitely. But clean fight, we'll see. Because I wouldn't imagine Usyk never fights dirty, but Fury might try something. He
Uh,
been in a few sketchy stories through the years.
yeah, but you talk about Fury. Even Lennox Lewis used to hit and hold. I remember when Lennox Lewis fought Michael Grant. He held Michael Grant in a headlock and hit him with the uppercut. Do you not see that? Yeah, he held his head, he put his head down, and
Hmm.
then threw an uppercut into Michael Grant's jaw.
Yeah, it can happen. It's just I'm more worried not even necessarily about dirty boxing as much as stuff outside.
How
You
does
know.
Usyk do against Lennox Lewis, by the way? Lewis never fought a southpaw.
That's an interesting one. I gotta have to think about it some more. It's
Who's the better boxer, Lennox Lewis or Tyson Fury?
huh. In what department? Like technically?
Generally, technically.
Yeah, I'd say it's Lennox Lewis.
Okay.
But again, like I said, Fury mostly has his attributes playing for him, and he uses them well. He's not being silly about it. Um, but he's nothing, not some, I don't know, technical miracle.
Okay. Let me give you two fights. Leif Gravenson asks about what would happen if Usyk fought Prime Klitschko's. Um, I think he can beat one, but I think he gets plastered by another. Your thoughts?
Prime Klitschko's, if we're taking about, say, 2004 era,
Mm-hmm.
2006, right?
Yeah.
Hmm. I'd say he gets beat by both.
Really?
Hmm. And
I
I
think
think he will fare better against
Vladimir.
um, Vladimir, but against Vitaly, it's gonna be bad.
I think Vitali knocks him out personally.
Yeah, he'd do it. It's
Vitali
Vitaly's good.
Klitschko. Vitali versus Tyson Fury. Just for a second. Who's your money on?
Oof, but Vitaly. It's very hard to
Ooh,
bet against Vitaly because every time he
Vitali.
lost, it was because of an injury.
I like Vitali, man. I love Vitali. I loved him.
He had that weird style coming from kickboxing with his hands down, and he had tremendous chin. That face is right there to hit, but it's it was a nightmare.
I
You
think he
know.
got better after he beat after Lennox Lewis fight. I think actually Vitali got better. Remember his fight against Corey Sanders? That was an amazing fight.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The Vitaly's. It's just sad that we've seen a lot less of him than we did of Vlad,
Yeah.
but he was a
Corey Sanders,
beast.
Corey Sanders versus Alexander Usyk. Just the South Africans' punching power. Both
Yeah,
southpaws.
it's a very tense fight.
It is, isn't it? What do you think?
Mhm. It would. I'd say Usyk edges a very safe decision, like
You don't think
not a wide one.
Sanders
Oh, it
doesn't
can
Sanders
happen.
tag him in the fight?
Oh, if he hits him to the bodies or something, which we know Usyk is a bit uncomfortable around, that we might see some, because even we could see a little bit of um, like clear shown discomfort on Usyk's face when um, Joshua decided to step on it and go to the body. If
Okay.
if that moment happened against Corey Sanders, I don't know. I'm not gonna say he would weather it better. You know.
What about? Let's give you two more fighters. I'm going to give you. I'm going to throw in there Chris Bird.
Chris Bird. Hard to say. I like Chris Bird in that fight.
Against Usyk.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
one more guy. Wild card. Michael Moorer at light heavyweight.
Michael Moorer at light heavyweight.
Moves up to cruiserweight. His punching power at light heavyweight was unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. He was a beast.
That's a good one.
I just didn't like Mora's chin. His chin was too soft.
Yeah, but Usyk is not someone who's gonna go after your chin. That's the thing. Even if his opponent is chinny, like for example AJ is, right? He still prefers to fight his fight and do it safe.
That's true.
All right, he kind of just boxes. That's the thing. He boxes first and punches second.
Let me ask you one more question. Do you think Alexander? Now I'm going to ask two more fighters. Alexander Usyk against the Mike Tyson who fought Michael Spinks, and David Tua versus forget David Tua. Ike Ikuibuchi versus Alexander Usyk.
Against Tyson, I see Usyk winning.
You think Usyk beats Tyson? Wow.
Yeah. A lot of movement, backing up, guys super aggressive coming for him. I see Usyk just being in his comfort zone there.
What about if Mike hits it?
Oh, well, yeah, like everybody says, right? You have a plan, like Mike was saying it. You have a plan until you get hit in your mouth. Usyk can take a few good shots, but that's the thing. He's not gonna be staying there to be hit. 1-2 shots, he might weather it and get back on the bicycle.
Mike's head movement.
Footwork, still footwork and speed, but he's lateral,
Okay.
You can kind of see him struggling against movers early on when he was fighting. What's the guy's name? Was it Biggs?
Yes, Shannon Briggs.
No, not Briggs. Early on, he was fighting a tall guy. Almost looked like a basketballer.
Revolta? Jose Revolta?
No, Tyrell Biggs or something.
Yeah,
like
Biggs.
That?
Yeah, Tyler Biggs. Yeah, I did say Biggs. Tyler
right.
Biggs.
I think he's. I thought you said Shannon Briggs.
No, Tyler Biggs.
Okay. Yeah, that guy was looking all right until he decided to stop essentially backing up because his corner told him to. And that's when, things started looking ugly.
Okay, interesting.
Good jab and good movement, and
the president?
The president.
The guy that fought David Tua, walked through David Tua and knocked out Chris Bird?
It's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Oh, we'll have to come back to that one. All right, more questions in the house. Jared001 says, do you think Usyk, aka the cat smile and lick at Fury like his food, LOL, but we will see. Also, those Ukrainian Russians are good wrestlers. I've seen wrestling drills a lot in the Usyk's camp. So, if Fury thinks he's going to ravage Usyk, I don't think he'll be able to, but I could be wrong. Only one way to find out.
Mm, I don't think he needs to match Fury in wrestling department. All he needs to do is keep him off himself. Because
I think he's. I
physicality
think.
is just so vast, it's not wise to wrestle or, I don't know, even make a contact.
Okay.
Being
Uh,
grabbed is already a bad situation for him.
yep. I think Eddie Hearn will block the fight with the IBF mandatory, same way he wants Bivol to fight Boazzi and Canelo next year, and not Beterbiev. He's very shrewd and selfish man.
Hmm.
Eddie Hearn. Hmm. Don't think.
Nah,
I
I
don't.
don't think that will play that much. I think the fight
He said,
gets.
"Yeah." He said, "Yeah, that's my point." Gerard says.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think. I think there is so much money on the line, and if they're talking about Saudi Arabia, then there already been a good offer, right? It's not that they're talking about it just out of the blue. Somebody must have fronted quite a bit of money.
Okay. Says not trying to outmuscle Fury. Wrestlers know how to evade certain holes. Hmm.
Sure,
Interesting.
yeah, they do escapes, but then again, how much of it is useful? Because wrestlers, when they even grapple standing up, try not to take each other down, they use their hands to grab each other. This is, when you wear boxing gloves, that's not a thing. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. What are the other topics you wanted to talk to us about?
Sure. So Usyk's, former WBC and um, light heavyweight boxer Alexander Gvozdik wants to come back to boxing. And the interesting thing about that is that he been gone for over what 3 years now, and all of a sudden he decides to come back. Now he says it's not that sudden because he been helping Canelo to prepare to fight Bivol, and he was at Canelo's camp, Eddie Reynoso kind of liked the guy and offered him to work together if he decides to come back. And Gvozdik is seriously considering that, but he says it's not going to be straight into heavyweight championship. He wants to see where he's at first because it's been a while since he's stepped into the ring.
Okay.
Mm,
So
I-
why does he fight a Bridgerweight first?
Bridgerweight.
Yeah.
What for?
Ah, well,
He's light heavyweight, 175 pounds. The Bridgerweight is what cap is from 200 to 220.
would he ever consider moving up?
I doubt it. It's if he moves up, then he would be either cruiserweight or heavyweight, and he kind of wants to give it a shot at light heavy again.
Okay. Okay. You know these guys, they go away for a while and they come back. And some of them say they're going to come back, but they'll come at a lot. They'll start their career back at a heavier weight and work their way back into contention. So I was thinking maybe
Well,
cruiserweight.
first of all, he never got out of shape. He's not in
Okay.
boxing condition, but he's quite a, I would say, disciplined athlete. So even
Okay.
um, being out of boxing, he was still in decent physical condition.
Shape. Okay. Okay. Okay.
So I don't. And then again, right? If you have kind of uncertainty about yourself,
Hmm.
and your place was at light heavyweight, trying to establish yourself in heavyweight or cruiserweight is a bit of bridge too far, I would say.
Okay.
You know, he kind of knows the landscape of light heavyweight. It hasn't changed that much. He lost to Beterbiev, and the other champion was Bivol, so it kind of stayed the same, right? The only
Yep.
thing that's changed is, I think, Kovalev,
Yeah.
who lost his title and went to cruiserweight. I think the last time we
Yep.
seen
It's a
him.
cruiserweight. It's a cruiserweight now.
So um, I think I think that's where he will stay, and that's the wisest decision because he mostly has all the knowledge about the division that he needs, right?
Okay.
The only thing that I'm wondering about is his camp. You know, the news about a boxer coming back at 35 after 3 years of layoff and, eyeing down the championship, but mm, I don't like that, especially with Reynoso,
You already know, so.
you know? You might have a little too many tacos.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Um. So, what do you think happens with him, in your opinion?
Um, I would imagine he fights somewhere in the first half of next year. Um, and it depends how that goes because, like he says himself, that he wants to see where he's at, if he even wants to continue.
Right.
Because he kind of got comfortable being outside of boxing. Apparently, his business was going very good uh, up until the point that the war started, and
Okay.
it has something to do with trading or whatever with both Russia and Ukraine, and he said a lot of money was lost there.
Okay.
So it would be interesting. Um, he is a rather disciplined fighter, so if he is serious about it, we would see some results coming rather soon.
Fantastic.
But until something materializes, I don't think so. And
Okay.
the other thing that he was spilling the beans about is something that keeps haunting us. It's the story of Klimas and Ross Anber.
Uh huh.
Yeah, apparently he's not coming back, and well, he's coming back, but he's not going to be partnering up with Klimas.
Okay. Why is that?
He didn't specify. And another thing is that um, before he became a champion by beating Stevenson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Adonis Stevenson.
Gonna see here.
Uh, he was boxing out of Oxnard in old
Uh,
Garcia camp,
yeah, Robert Garcia. Yeah.
right? He had a gym over there, and Gvozdyk was training under Garcia. Now, Robert Garcia decided to sell that
The
gym,
gym. Yes. Which
and
was bought over by Klimas and
Ross
Amber, right?
Amber, yeah,
Yeah, we told you about this a while ago. Remember, a few years
and
ago, when the story broke. Yep.
yep, and then Gvozdyk kind of being located nearby and being used to the whole thing, he
Mm-hmm.
kept training there at the gym. But apparently, once the gym was purchased and Lomachenko moved in,
Mm-hmm.
he began feeling that he was unwelcome there.
Right.
At first, it was just kind of tense, kind of situation feeling,
Right. Right. Right.
and at some point, he was just asked not to come again. You
Okay.
know,
But wasn't the whole point of that gym was to be Ukrainians only, and it was going to be a Ukrainian dominance of the division. So it was going to be Usyk and Lomachenko and any other Ukrainian fighter or Russian fighter. They were going to bring. I think it was Ukrainian fighters. They were going to bring together and dominate the world scene. That was sort of the plan for world domination. Was that not true? Was that the rumor or what?
Well, if that was the plan by the organizers, which would mostly be Klimas because he
Yes.
mostly manages Eastern European fighters,
Yes.
and Ross Anbar, they kind of purchase that gym and decide to make something happen,
Yes.
then their biggest selling points kind of didn't, well, pan out because only Lomachenko was using that gym, while Usyk was mostly boxing out of Europe, so he was not interested in spending time there. And if it's true that Gvozdyk was kind of a um, not a team player, let's say, not necessarily that he was, creating any tension, but let's say he was not going along with the vision for the new gym,
Mhm.
then essentially it's a moot point. Who are you gonna bring? You need stars from scratch, and I don't think either Klimas or Ross Anbar know how to build fighters from scratch.
Okay. Okay.
And
So basically, that world domination plan has fallen apart.
I guess so, if it ever even existed, because again, who mm, who really put the plan together?
It was
Because
Klimas. I believe Klimas. That was Klimas's plan because he was trying to. He brought Usyk and then Lomachenko, and he wanted to bring them all to one big family. That's what it seemed to be. I see what see
it
the plan
could
seemed to
be,
be.
and it perhaps that was the part of why tension between Klimas and Bashir arose, right? Because
Huh?
um, there are different ideas about what should happen.
Well, Bashir says out and out, Klimas is a racist. That's what he said. So he didn't
Hmm.
hold back on that. So
Can confirm, no deny.
mhm. Okay. Interesting point made here by King. He says that Fury's bad at southpaws because, especially in that Otto Wallin fight, Usyk wins easy. Fury's terrible at southpaws, especially Otto Wallin fight. Usyk wins easy. And
Uh,
then Gerard says is a good point. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say it's a good point, but easy is a bit of a stretch. I don't think, um, even if he struggles, he's gonna give it his best shot, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And he has enough attributes, and he's been around. Like he's not a fluke champion. He
yeah.
beat champions at more or less their prime.
Right.
Maybe Klitschko was a
Oh,
bit old, but who
wait.
cares? Because before him, he beat everybody who came along, so it's a bit of a moot point.
Uh-huh.
Um, Wilder, definitely, he took Wilder on 3 times.
Hmm.
Wilder threw everything he had at him and couldn't
Yes.
get there. And you know, I say easy is not the word I would describe that fight for either of them. I don't think Fury, even if he does win, will have a easy going at it.
No, I don't either.
I think
I
it will
don't.
be the most frustrating fight he ever had in his life.
Yep, I think so too. Um, Anything else you want to talk about that comes to mind?
Well, um, let's quickly. The
Breeders.
Breedies. The
Yes.
further
The guy,
time goes on, the less I'm inclined to talk about the guy because it's just a sad situation.
I thought he could go on and become a heavyweight world champion. I really did.
Like with his boxing attributes and accolades, yeah, I would agree with you. But with his, with the aspects of his mentality that showed themselves, it was, I don't think so anymore.
What's going on with him?
Well, he essentially, um, how do I put it? He acts very irrational and hurts himself a lot in the process. So to begin with,
Uh-oh.
he was going into the World Boxing Super Series, and after Usyk left the division, it was essentially his for the taking. But a lot of it fell through because even though he was He had the IBF championship, and he was supposed to unify with WBO, I believe, champion
Okay.
Glovatsky. You remember
Mhm.
that guy, right?
Yeah.
Um, or there was WBA vacant title on that fight or something like that. The fight,
And, and the Coley fight.
yeah. So the fight went very dirty, and essentially both fighters got frustrated. I think Glovatsky either um, purposely or not purposely was hidden behind the head, and Breedis got frustrated and elbowed him,
Wow.
and the fight got stopped. It was a big stink. Um, Essentially, he wasn't allowed to unify because of the way the fight went,
Okay.
but he did keep the IBF title. Now, he after that he kinda it's almost like he gave up on trying to unify the division and get the meaningful fights, and more
Okay.
or less try to get paid. All right.
Hmm.
Mm, and first it resulted in um, what was it? Oh, let me see. He was calling out Canelo because Canelo was gonna jump to light heavyweight, and then there was a talk of him trying to go to cruiserweight and fight Makabu.
Hmm.
Well, Breedis wanted some of that, so he was calling out Canelo, and Canelo never went to cruiserweight. Um, and when Canelo didn't, Breedis didn't stop. He just instead of keep calling out Canelo, he started calling out Logan Paul.
Oh dear.
Right, and that was not a good look when the active cruiserweight champion is calling out a YouTuber. That's just it's both
No.
desperate and I don't even know how to describe it.
Oh dear.
So you know, uh, from there, things were not looking any better. He went to Australia to fight against Jai Opataya.
Yes, I heard about this fight.
Yeah, and he looked all sloppy. Like it, he just essentially he was only doing a few combinations on the explosion, kind of uh, trying to close the gap, land a few punches, and then he was just walking around getting punched from the outside,
Uh-oh.
and he lost the fight. He lost his championship,
Hmm.
and with the recent developments, now it's no secret that most of Eastern Europe is politically very much against Russia and any affiliations with them.
Hmm.
And he decided to take the opposite stance.
Okay.
And as he was doing that, essentially that is the precursor to his fight that he lost, right?
Okay.
Mm, his boxing gym, I believe, dropped him, said they would not associate with him because of his political statements, saying like in support of Russia or whatever. He started just writing, airing out all the grievances that he could possibly air out, being very mm, unreasonable about it. Basically, a lot of people would rather say nothing. He would be remembering how Klitschko would bully him in the camp, which I don't know why that came out all of a sudden, but I guess you know. Um, and after a while, people saw that he's so supportive of Russians, and now all of a sudden he remembers all the grievances about any Ukrainian he can remember. And you know what? The TV stations in Latvia just dropped him, said, "We're not going to show his fights. We're not interested." And it's the only Latvian champion that they have.
Wow, that says a lot.
So his country essentially decided to wash their hands and say we have nothing to do with this guy. And now he's trying to do politics, run for parliament in some kind of pro-Russian party or something. Uh, it's more or less looks like his boxing career is over. Not because of any injury, or it just he doesn't have any focus on that, and his emotional side is getting better of him.
Wow, it's a real
So
shame. That's a
the
real shame.
guy who could have been a heavyweight champion, and he could have been a unified or absolute champion, like in cruiserweight. He's
It's a shame.
just
It's a shame.
that's pretty much how it ends, you know.
The rise and fall of Marius Breeders, not good. Not
No,
good. Oh dear.
and a lot of talent, a lot of untapped
Yeah,
potential.
yeah, yeah. I said I'd love to if I was going to manage any fighter in the world, he'd be the guy I'd manage, and I'd take him to the heavy. I'd manage him to become heavyweight champion of the world. That would be my goal.
Imagine if
Right.
you did, and that's the guy you manage, and that's how he behaves. What what a joke would that be? The only person you ever decide
Yeah,
to
I
manage,
talk. Yeah, but if I'm managing him, I'd have talked to him. I certainly,
perhaps. Yeah,
I'd talk to him. Yeah, and maybe steer him clear of any sort of political involvement. I said, if you want to have a political career, do it the best way. Do it the way Vitaly Klitschko did it.
yep,
That'll piss him off even more. It might even get him to the heavyweight championship faster. But you know,
right. Because there's always time for that stuff, for the
of course
political
there
career,
is.
right?
Of course there is. Of
But the
course there
window
is.
of opportunity for being a
Yeah,
heavyweight champion, that's a different matter.
it's exactly. And yeah, it's a shame about Mansbury. So I rate him very highly. I still rate him very highly. I still would like to see him fight Lawrence Okoli, but I want to
Not
see him fight.
anymore. I would have liked to see him fight like when he was active, fighting Usyk, fighting
Yeah.
those guys.
But not
Right
now.
now, it's Coley. I'm not even watching. I'm checking the score in the morning on the box rack, like whatever. I'm telling you, it's that sad. He's a
uh,
shadow.
there's still that talk now, Usyk versus Canelo. I mean, really, do we really want to see
Nonsense.
that?
I don't think Canelo goes against any mover again. He made a big mistake with Bivol. And now he
Yeah.
thought he could kinda, sorta, by hook or by crook.
Well, they're
Not a
talking the
chance.
rematch. They're talking the rematch. He wants the rematch this year or next year, I'll say.
We'll see when that happens. I doubt it. I, then again, his options are very limited. Like, who does he fight? One.
Joshua Boazzi, John Ryder.
Do you
Anything
want to
that
see?
do I want to see those fights? No, I don't. But Eddie Hearn will tell you. We want to see
Well,
that
yeah,
fight.
Eddie Hearn will tell you a lot of bollocks.
Eddie over a dead zone will tell us that. But there you go. Right. In closing, Anthony Yard, my good brother, is facing against Beterbiev or Beterbiev. But either way you pronounce the guy's name, I'm
Better
sorry,
BF.
but Beterbiev, I'm not convinced on that shoulder roll. You're getting tagged while using the shoulder roll against a guy who's in his last fight fought a guy who was over 40 and had about 12 losses. I really don't know if you're getting tagged by low level opposition like that. God forbid if Beterbiev hits Anthony Yard in the first round, because
And he will try. Better BF doesn't wait. His first rounds are aggressive.
yeah, and that's my concern for Anthony Yard. It really is.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
If there was a fighter that you would steer um, Anthony Yard, all right,
Away from.
to fight against, well, yeah, away from and towards,
Yes.
it would definitely not be Better BF.
No, I would rather him fight Bivol.
Absolutely, he will I would imagine he would still lose because I rate Bevel quite highly, the highest
I,
actually in the division.
I think he's the best in the world. I've always said it, but time will tell.
But here's the thing, Bevo might hurt you or might not. Better Bevo will definitely hurt
Will
you. That's
definitely.
the only
He will
thing he
hurt.
does.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Does Yard stand a chance in this fight?
Well, everybody stands some kind of chance, but you know, you stand a chance of fighting off a bear. Do you want to try? Well, better not.
Not really. No, not
Right.
really. No, no.
So yeah,
Maybe a can of beer. I stand a chance.
yeah, that's okay. But yeah, I just hope that he comes out of this okay,
That's what I
because
think too. He's gonna get hurt.
he might be a bit too vulnerable for the guy he's about to fight.
That's what they're saying. Yard says he saw him up close, and he says that he's not that far. He's not as fast. I saw him fight Joe Smith, and he looked pretty fast against Joe Smith to me.
He's fast enough to get him,
Hurt.
and then we'll hear a different
Exactly.
story after the
Yeah,
fight.
yeah. I'd say like, who did Better Be have beaten his last fight, and who did you beat in your last fight?
Right.
That's the levels.
Mm-hmm.
And yet again, he's going into another world title fight, fighting who? To be number one contender. It's not even right. But anyway, I love Anthony Yard and his team, but just because I love you, it doesn't mean I should be biased. You've got to call it for how I see it. He's not ready. But maybe he's going to prove me wrong. I hope he does.
Hey, if that happens, that will be something interesting. Every now and then boxing gives you one of those fights that you just
It
did
does.
not imagine going,
It
and
does.
you just wrote it off, and then boxing says, you know what, you don't know anything.
Yeah, exactly. I sort of hope that happens. I hope it really does happen. Whether it
His
happens or
safety.
not, I don't know. If they safety, yeah, but whatever happens, it's going to be a vicious fight. It's going to
Oh
be
yeah.
vicious.
I don't imagine if it's vicious, it's gonna be long, but it's gonna be vicious.
Yeah. And just the way he was, the way he was at that press conference. I don't know if you saw the press conference, but the way he was smiling, the way he was looking at Anthony Yard, the way he was behaving, was a guy was like, I'm gonna teach you a lesson. I'm gonna teach you respect. That sort of look.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I didn't like it. But
All
we'll
right.
see. All right, Eugene, thank you so much as always. We appreciate you. Do you have anything you want to say to the listeners before you go?
I'd say stay tuned. There are a few good fights coming up, but here's my little prediction, right? That the fight will not happen um, against Usyk and Fury, and we might hear some stories about them. So don't be surprised if stories start coming out, and we'll be there to cover them. Okay?
Okay, Eugene,
Because
that sounds very interesting. Sounds very interesting.
it's
Sounds ominous as
moving a
well.
little too good to be true.
Okay,
So I'm having a little suspicious thoughts, in my head.
okay.
All right.
Suspicious minds. All right. So we'll see you soon, Eugene. Thank you so much as always.
All right. Have a good one.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Everybody at from BWTM Sports says thank you so much for watching. And of course, don't forget to rate, subscribe, and leave your comments as always. Thanks for watching.